Welcome to the Magick and Mindfulness podcast. You're joining me, Amy Maxwell, on my journey of understanding the world of light magic in order to cultivate mindful living. I'm so excited for you to join me on this path of discovery. All right, everyone. So I'm joined today by Corsini. I am so stoked that he's here talking to me. And I know the listeners of the Magick and Mindfulness podcast are huge fans, and myself included. So I had so many DMs from you guys asking and saying how excited you were that Chris is coming on the show. So, and also this is our first YouTube recording. So first off, thank you, Chris, just for taking the time today. I know you're super, super busy. But yeah, how are you today? How are you doing?
I am good. Well, thanks for having me, first of all. And hello to you and everybody, all the listeners. I'm good. We have a full moon in Pisces in like 2 days, and Mercury is going retrograde. I know this is coming out later, but right now the energies are wild. We're in the middle of retrograde season too. So yeah, I've noticed just a lot of doors closing and wrapping things up and sort of preparing for the shifts happening through I guess we're moving into the fall equinox now. So yeah, there's a lot of change. Sure. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I have noticed that. I felt like 2022 has been a heavy year in terms of like we were sort of speaking about just before cooking record, like doors closing unexpectedly. And for me personally, like now moving into almost the end of the year, it feels like, I don't know, a lot of healing from the beginning of the year and like new doors opening, but not in the way I expected. But yeah.
The twists and turns of the universal guidance. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, and just holding that trust as well. But also thanks for being honest, because I love, whenever I ask how is someone doing today, you don't always have to say, yeah, I'm fucking great. Like, just be honest.
Yeah, I find that that's such an easy out. Everyone's always like, I'm good. How are you? I'm like, are you good? Is anybody good right now? Like, totally. I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, where are you dialing in from and like what's going on for you right now? I mean, you can go as deep into that as you want to go, to be honest. What's happening in your life?
Yeah, I like being honest because I feel like it helps other people be like, oh shit, I'm going through that too. Oh, I can swear on here, yeah?
Yeah. It's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, I am currently in Canada. I'm at my mom's house right now. Gonna go spend some time in Toronto for a little bit. I came here originally to open a store. We were like month 4 into planning and construction and all that. And then there was a major issue came up with some of the documentation and the licensing and all this other bullshit. So very abruptly that fell through. And yeah, that was sad because I really, really wanted to open this healing space. We have one in Portugal that we're opening also.
Amazing.
In Lisbon.
When
yeah, and the Lisbon
opening?
location. Oh God. Well, it's Portugal. So like never, maybe. I don't know. It's like it takes so long. I'm hoping I would love like summer solstice next year that we're like open. I think that's a realistic time frame. But yeah, that was what I was here for. And then that fell through. So now I'm just here kind of chilling, preparing, I'm actually filming a lot of like pick a pile readings and stuff right now for my YouTube. So yeah, nice. I'm using the time at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Things aren't working out the way that you planned, but I'm sure, as you probably also know from all your readings, that even though at the time of processing all that stuff that you're really thinking about and moving towards it, it will always work out the way it's supposed to, even if it's really shit at the time to deal with.
Absolutely. And I've noticed too, it's like a lot of there's either certain people involved or like a situation just goes sour. And then you kind of sit with it and you're like, I don't even know if these were like the best people that should have moved forward with anyways. So like, thank God that, like,
Yes.
the universe stepped in and was like, oh, this
Oh
guy's
yeah.
sketchy. And like, thank God it only cost, I mean, it was a shit ton of money, but it wasn't
Hmm.
like $500,000, you know what I mean? So it was, at least we didn't lose more than we could have, because if we did move forward avoiding some of these issues, then it could have cost a lot more money in the future. So it's just like everything, yeah, certainly has a time and a reason. And
Yeah.
sometimes we don't understand that, but just letting it be what it is always, I guess, easier said than done to rest into it, but it's there to support.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So many lessons in that. And yeah. Oh yeah, I have so many feels into what you just said, because things also fell through for me this year that was supposed to happen. And literally what you just said, like at the time it was devastating. And now I look back and I think, well, thank God that didn't happen, because I don't know what, yeah, without going too much into it, but it wasn't
Right.
meant to be. And yeah, it would have been even more of a bumpy road than what happened at the time. So anyways, diving in deep already, Chris, with all the feels. By the way, what's your star signs, may I ask? I should probably know this.
I was just gonna actually say I have a Cancer moon, so
Okay,
yeah, deep into the emotion. That's also, I
love.
think, where a lot of the intuition comes from. Any water signs are quite strong with intuition, but
Yeah.
actually all three water signs I would say are obviously like the top three players. Um, Not to say other signs can't. And also there's such a mix, but like my rising is a Libra and my Gemini is a moon. Which is also funny because Gemini rules the hands and communication, and I
Hmm.
do sign language, and I talk a lot. So it just, and Libra is like connecting people and sharing information as well. So yeah, I feel like I'm a very literal blend of what I am.
That's really cool. Yeah, I love.
What are you?
So I'll start with how you started. So I'm an Aries moon. And I actually just until recently thought I was a Libra rising, but my mum got the birth time wrong. So I'm actually a Gemini rising
Oh, okay.
and a Scorpio sun.
Ooh, Scorpio is so intense. I love Scorpio. Yeah, especially when like really channeled properly is like, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
super powerful sign.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the intense. That's why I feel like, yeah, I just vibe with just going deep into conversations and like just getting into like the real stuff, because yeah,
Well,
it's
and Aries and Scorpio are both ruled by Mars. So you've got like
okay.
double Mars action, which is like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's fast. That's as fast as you can get. It's like dive
Ah,
right. It can be aggressive to like, yeah, you might find that you need to like really watch your words or your temper when you're getting triggered by people that you're just like, you're a fucking idiot, I'm gonna freak out right now. It's like, woo, go to my breathing exercises, like, because Mars energy is
mm,
really, it's also very protective, very hardworking. So like it's a great sign, or sorry, a great planet. But yeah, you've got that from both Aries and
ah,
Scorpio.
that makes
It's
a
the
lot of
tradition
sense.
of Scorpio, I believe. Yeah.
That
But it was
makes a
also
lot of
there.
sense. Yeah, thanks, Chris. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, so well, what I really wanted to discuss with you today, and you're kind of already doing that with me, is reading collective energy and ways that you can tune into that. Because yeah, I already feel like super deep with you on just a few things that we've just talked about. And like, obviously, if people tune into your Instagram or any other of your of the channels that you're on, they will be able to see that you can really dive into that collective energy. So even though you're great, I'm sure, at working one-on-one, I feel like, hopefully that's all right to say, you've really built up this network of like mastering how to read collective energy. I'm always tuning into your horoscopes, and like, yeah, sometimes I'm just watching it and I'm just like, holy shit, like you just say something and I'm like, how is that even possible? And I, before we dive like super into that stuff though, I am always interested to know with the guests that I speak to, like, how did you start in the world of spirituality? Or like, how have you gone from, just little Chris to where you are now? Because you've also just like blown up in the spiritual community. Um, And I would just love to know, like, what was your journey? Did you have some kind of spiritual awakening, or what was the process for you?
Yeah, I think I mean, we're all obviously spiritual from the get-go. We just have all those like layers and traumas and just all the shit that society piles onto us that kind of really takes us out of that alignment. And I think I was really in that alignment as a child. I used to like see ghosts in my house, and I remember buying a tarot deck at age like 10 or 11, and then never really using it, but always being fascinated by it. And then as I got into like my teens and more so into college, I was just like really hanging out with the wrong people. I was like not, I didn't have any connection to the spiritual community. I didn't really have any connection to myself at that point either. I was really like, I'm a Gemini Libra, so like I'm really in the mind. And even until recently, like I didn't even really realize like I have a body here that I also need to deal with and take care of. And like that was a really big part of my journey as well, just realizing that there's all the layers of yourself that you need to operate within, and not just like the mind space. Because when you're in that mind space, especially like in the time when I was in college, I was just very like impulsive, or I'd think of something and I would just do it, or someone would ask me to join them and I would just go. I was like almost mindless. Not that I wasn't thinking, but I just like wasn't thinking about all of the layers of impact, and like, is this in alignment with myself? What do I really feel in the heart space? So like as I was going through that, trying to navigate really, really toxic emotional and intimate relationships, and yeah, there's a couple traumatic events that sort of spun me into just like more drinking, more drugs, more like random hookups, just like doing all this like shit that I was like just numbing myself really. And then there was a turning point where I went to this clinic to like get some help, and one of the individuals there, who was like 70 years old, and his name was Don, and he's like this bigger older gay man, he did Reiki on me for the first time. I just like saw Reiki on this like list of things you could do, and I was just like, oh, that's sounds fun. I literally have no idea what it is, but I was like, I like the name Reiki, so I'll just try that. And like my first session, I was like floating, like in the middle of the room. Like my eyes were open. I was like against the ceiling almost. My arms and my hands were like on the ground. My legs were tingling. I was seeing colors. I was like, holy shit, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
And then he told me that that was his last day at the clinic, and it was obviously my first visit. And he was like, but my guides are telling me that I should work with you if you're interested. So I'm going to give you my card, and if you're interested, call me. And then like 2 or 3 weeks later, I was like, I do want to go back. That was so crazy. Like, what did I just experience?
Yeah.
So then he had a treatment room in his house. And I know the story sounds a little sexual because I'm like, this older gay man gave me this card. And like, trust me, at that time too, I was like, oh God, does this guy like, does he really want to help me with energy work? Or is he just kind of like make me? So it was kind of weird. My mom met him once too, and she was like, who is this man in your life? I'm like, oh my God. He's like, we're still like really close friends.
Cute.
And very long story short, I went to that treatment at his house, and then we just like laughed a lot. And he really, he's on the other side, he's part of different astral committees, you could say.
Okay.
And he began to permit me access to certain or not to permit me access, but to introduce me to different councils and different energies on the other side. And then they kind of say like, you know, yes, this person is in like a safe enough, balanced enough energy to work with us, and they can, or they can kind of see like, oh, this guy's like not, you know,
Oh, wow.
not the, there's not a good heart there. Like they're not going to permit a lot of access to somebody who's like going to go batshit crazy.
It's a bit like
Yeah, so
Star
there's like
Wars, isn't it?
literally, and like I've had a few like ceremonies where like I have seen these beings in front of me, like in not physically there, but just like in my mind and energetically, I can literally feel their presence there. I'm like, holy shit. And
Wow.
yeah, like, so this is very real. And we all have that. We also have our guides and our spirit teams and all that sort of stuff, right? So there's different levels of it. And
Hmm.
this man basically opened me up and introduced me to different levels. And then with those levels came new awareness and new talents. And he coached me through this is how I read cards. Why don't you try? And then I read his cards once and he was just like, holy shit, this is really accurate. You should keep doing this. And then I visited him for like 2 years and we would just like make breakfast and have coffee and do energy stuff like twice a week. And
So nice.
I'm gonna see him for the first time in 3 years in like a week. So I'm super excited.
Oh, he
But yeah,
sounds so
kind of
nice.
he is nice and he's so quirky and strange and yeah, his story is also hilarious. So I'm super grateful. But yeah, I was just kind of in this really dark place and then randomly
Hmm.
met him and then this friendship started and the tools came out and I think that happens to a lot of us even on a smaller level, and we're not even necessarily aware of like those committees involved and all those things. Like it doesn't need to
Yeah.
be so presently aware. But yeah, that's definitely happening to a lot of us for sure.
Yeah, that's so, so nice though. And I think that's so important, isn't it, to have some kind of mentor or someone that you look up to. And I think especially in the world of spirituality, to have someone that you really trust. And like, it also sounds like he's a really kind of light-hearted, fun, like you said, person. So
Right.
I think also at times like it can be a really dark place and you can be in a really, there is a lot of dark energy in this world, isn't there? Which I'm only starting to realize, and it kind of sucks because you think maybe I've been a bit naive to think, oh, actually, everyone's doing this for light work purposes only, but it's not unfortunately the case. But how old were you then? Were you quite young when that happened, or with this man?
Oh God, yeah. I think I would have been like 25 or 24. And and then that's also when I started writing music and getting into more like creative stuff. I was also in school for sign language and English interpreting. So like the tarot started developing, the music started developing, the accessibility started developing. Like it all kind of
Mm,
really began to take shape around that age. And then I graduated. Um, Actually, no, I would have already graduated by then, I believe. And then I worked in the deaf community for like 10 years. And then I ended up moving to Europe.
wow.
But yeah, this was like, yeah, years ago, probably
So
like
it's
nine
been
or
a
10 years
long
ago.
it's been a long build up then actually, because I think it's really good to know, isn't it? Because I think you sort of see things on social media and you have kind of, was it the last couple of years, Chris, though, that you've really like, I mean, skyrocketed into like, I just want to say spiritual stardom, but it is kind of like that. I hope that doesn't sound too cheesy, but like is it the last couple of years or has it been a little bit before that time?
Yeah. So in 2018 was the first time that I was like, I'm gonna just do like an Instagram live with a couple of my cards and just do
Hmm.
the 12 zodiacs, which was a terrible idea. And I don't recommend that because I was like channeling for like 2 hours and 45 minutes. And my God, by the end of it, I was like, holy shit. Like, I didn't realize when people talk about like everything takes energy. Like,
Hmm.
I felt like drunk. I slept for like 2 days. I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, I didn't realize that it actually like drains you like that. So, yeah, having those boundaries in place for
Yeah.
yourself. Like, now I only record like 3 readings at a time because it
Hmm.
takes 30 minutes and I can stick with the stamina. But yeah, the first time I uploaded anything was on Instagram Live, probably August 2018. And prior to that, I was doing a lot of personal readings and I was noticing like people were like fucking mind blown and then they would tell their friends and then their friends would come and they'd be mind blown and then like three more people would show up and all these people just started coming to me being like, you need to read, like I heard you're so great at this. So it was like those types of moments where you're like, okay, there's something here that I need to
Yeah.
pay attention to, obviously. Um, and then yeah, randomly, I don't even know what the trigger, like what the trigger point was, but I
Yeah,
just was like, I put this on Instagram. It just felt right. Let's see.
yeah,
And the next day I woke up, and at that time I only had like 2,500 followers, just like randomly following me just as myself.
yeah,
Um, and I woke up to like 1,200 views and like 100 comments and people being like, "This is crazy." And I was like, "Oh my God, what the fuck?" I was like, 1,000 views. And I even do that now. Like when I release a song and I get like in 24 hours, like 2,000 people listen to this, or like even like 20 people listen to this. I'm like, oh my
yeah,
God, 20 people saved that. Like, so it's those little things that you really just need to get so excited about. Even if it's one person who's
yeah,
like, one person promoted your song or liked your art photo or whatever. It's like, oh my God, this is so exciting. So yeah, it just kind of grew from there. And then it became more structured,
yeah,
and COVID happened and people were like, give me answers, give me
yeah,
clarity. I had transitioned my live workshops into pay what you can workshops that were just like 30-minute video on YouTube. And then those blew up, and that brought us obviously lots of abundance. So now we could use that
yeah.
money to help hire people and grow the business. So it just like literally out of nowhere
Spirals.
exploded. Yeah, it was crazy.
That's
And now we have like
amazing.
8 people, 8 or 9 people working for us, and we're building like new infrastructure. And then probably actually when this comes out, we'll be done that phase. And then moving into December, January, we have like a marketing team sort of pulling the lever so that we can expand
Amazing.
into a new level of this. So there's a lot happening that just started from me being like, oh my God, 100 comments or like 10
Yeah.
likes, you know?
Oh,
It's
that's
crazy.
amazing. Oh, well, congratulations. I mean, it's really cool to hear, and I think it's yeah, I think it's incredible, and I yeah, I find them really helpful. So it is the, I think that's the amazing thing when you're doing something of service. It's just like to help more people and to get your voice and your message out even more and for more people to see that. I think, the marketing team is certainly going to help with that. So I'm excited to see what comes next and all these physical spaces and everything. Like, yeah, that would be amazing. But thanks for sharing your story as well to how you've got to where you are today. Because I think it's also nice for listeners to know that, there is a journey involved and there's, the development and who you meet. And then, yeah, but it does sound like it really, yeah, it's just unfolded so naturally and like part of your dharma, and especially with the tarot. But I would love to know actually, because you've kind of touched on a few little bits and bobs that you do, and we even open with you speaking about astrology, and the tarot is just like, it just flows out for you. You've also spoke a bit about, connecting to guides. Do you have like a way that how would you introduce yourself as Chris Corsini? Like, would you say you're a psychic or a tarot reader, or like what, how would you, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that a lot when people are like, can you send us like a bio? And I'm like, oh my God, a bio? I'm like, do I need to like try to categorize myself as like I don't know how to label myself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually what we're working on with our marketing team and our strategy. That is like,
Mm-hmm.
I just am me, and like there's all of these multifaceted layers to who I am. So when, like for example, our website, like we're restructuring just like chriscorsini.com, and then when you go there you'll see like music, tarot,
Mm-hmm.
workshop, community outreach, live spaces. So like I don't really know how to, yeah, like in one sentence sort of categorize what it is that I do. I think that I'm certainly an intuitive, yeah, psychic tarot reader, who enjoys teaching what worked for me and who can tune into energies and describe them in a relatable way. And we prioritize accessibility and inclusion and affordability into everything that we do. And we just want to create a space for people to come together and be like, oh shit, that totally makes sense, what he just said. And I can do something with that information. And look at all the other people that are here that I can also connect with. You know what I mean? Like a community. So yeah, I think that's kind of how I would describe myself if I had to, but it's not in like a cute little package with a ribbon on it, you know. Um, but
And
I'm
you,
also like a regular person who has like you know, broken dreams and heartbreaks and like very real fears and concerns, and like the world is falling apart right now. Like that's not easy for me either, just because for like a moment of me channeling, I seem to have all the answers for some people. Like I can tell everybody what to do, but like, do I listen to my own advice? Like, no, I struggle with that. You know what I mean? So I'm also just like totally a regular human trying to figure it out, which is a shit show. Yeah.
But thanks for sharing that. And I think it's interesting you share that, because I think it is, you know, it is really easy to put people on this platform and to think that they might have, you know, the ability to tune into all the answers for themselves. But also through this podcast, who I've spoken to, you know, other guests, they also have shared, I think quite recently as well, that they, you know, they also need someone else to give them a perspective sometimes, because it's not always as easy to tune inwards and, like you said, like take your own advice. So thanks for sharing that, because I think it's, you know, like if you book in with a tarot reader or someone, like you, there's so much like you want to get answers and have, yeah, everything unlocked, but it's just not everything is possible, is it? I think as well to answer sometimes.
And I don't think that it all needs, like, we want the outcome answer. We want the result. Or we don't want what is the next step and what is the journey and how do I get there. And I think a lot of that comes down to also people just not, like, we've been taught to not trust ourselves. We've been taught that like I grew up Catholic, and it's like, oh, you need to go ask for forgiveness. You need to go talk to God. You need to go connect with God. You need to go to church to get your answers. And like, to some degree, I guess I respect parts of that approach, but like we are creating our moment. We are connected to God intuitively, internally. Like nothing is outside of us. So to have people like me validate externally what you're feeling internally is super helpful. But where I struggle also is like, I don't want somebody externally to validate me all the time. I want to know what is good for me and then trust that I'm making the right decision for myself. And like, I still struggle with that like daily, and because I'm also an overthinker and I have fears and I'm a psychic, and I'm just like,
it's a lot.
Like, what is this right now? Like, is it my fears? Is it my trauma? Is it my psychic ability? Is it the collective energy? Like, all I'm thinking is like, do I or do I not want to eat this like chicken right now? Like, it's only vegan right now. My body maybe needs the chicken. It's like, I overthink so many fucking things. It's crazy. And I think that that's just like very collective. Like a lot of us just don't trust ourselves. So like, I do really think that the tarot readings are great and use them to your advantage if you can, but like the workshops that we offer are more about like you learning to connect with you and like trusting you. So like, if the horoscopes are good and they're working for you, then like also try a workshop, because those are going to actually give you tools and not just like me yelling advice at you, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I actually would like to ask you a question that I just feel might be appropriate, because it's been something I've been questioning in myself a lot recently, and I would just love your take on it. Do you believe that there's multiple timelines for each person?
Absolutely, yeah. And I know there's you can sorry, I'm just gonna say it, these concepts are so deep though. This is a way bigger conversation, but you can like quantum leap into other timelines. Like you can in every choice you make, you're actually creating the timeline that you're currently on, right? So if you, for example, are coming at a crossroads and you're like, do I take this job or do I take this job? Like in that moment, you're choosing which timeline you want to jump into. So that's why it's important to be like, what do I feel internally really is the best step for me? Because from the heart space, not the mind, because your mind is going to try to logically tell you things. It's going to keep you in like fear because it's trying to protect you, and it's trying to predict the future based off of its past experience.
Right.
So it actually, like, the mind itself can't really fathom different outcomes. You can move into like the probability and like I can imagine something, but even the imaginative mind is not like the logical mind that's trying to protect you. So like in those moments, really just grounding yourself, even like growing roots out of the bottom of your feet down to the earth, bringing up white light and just calming, like activating your, I think it's your parasympathetic nervous system, or the one that is like the slow, calm one. And in that space, like, does this feel good? Does this job feel good? If I feel some sort of expansion or yes, then it's like, okay, then create that timeline, move into that timeline instead of like cycling through other timelines because you're basing your decisions off of fear. Not that there's even like a right or a wrong or a good or a bad, because you're going to get lessons either way, and somehow it will all be applicable. But I just, yeah, timelines are for sure a real thing, and we're constantly co-creating with your higher self, with your guides, with the universe. So it's like,
Right.
I think, yeah, if we can all just like slow down, that's the other thing. Like we're in a society that is training us. We're literally indoctrinated to like wake up, go to work, 9 to 5, get home. It's like cook dinner, deal with the kids, do this shit. And then you go to bed, you wake up, you turn on the news, you go to, it's like, they want you to go, 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 because then you're not tuning into yourself. You're not feeling yourself. You're in the mind space. We're all operating out of the mind space all of the time. So like, anyways, we don't need to get into like the hidden agendas of the dark world that are very real. But like, I just feel like, yeah, to break those cycles, which is like, I don't know how old all of our listeners are, but you look at your parents and like, you're like, oh my God, like my mom comes home and like the news is on while she's cooking in the morning.
Right.
First thing is the news. And just like, don't watch the news. Oh my God, get away from the news. Like, but they don't know that. That's just their lifestyle. That is life for them, and it's totally normal.
Yeah.
But like we're in a space now where we're rewriting that because we need to be able to tune in, slow down, and choose our pathway, choose our timelines. Everyone around us and older than us, I feel like, has been forced into their timelines, and it just doesn't. There's friction there. Like there's no flow, right? So
totally. And they're just stuck as well. And it's
totally.
I think it's great to speak about this though, because I think it comes back to, you know, the monthly horoscopes that you do as well. And I think, you know, when reading for people, I think there is I also read tarot as well, like definitely not as good as you, Chris, but I'm starting my journey on it. And yeah, I find people come to me as well, and they have these big questions of like, oh well, I'm sure you can think of some like really big questions. And I think how I like to think is certainly like you have these multiple timelines, and indeed, like if you kind of just see what's coming up in the close future, then it's going to be helpful. But I think we are, myself included, like you were sort of saying as well, like we all want these answers because we all want to know just really like it's all going to work out. But it's yeah, it's really difficult to say, isn't it? For such a long time in the future.
Right. And it probably won't work out, and simultaneously it will work out because we're living in a world of polarity. So
Right.
it's like there is no will it work out, there is no final outcome, because even when you get that final result, the result itself is in motion. Like nothing is stagnant or static. Like everything is constantly flowing. That's the only consistent thing, is change, right? So it's like, yeah, I think we have this idea of like, when I get there, or when I create this, or like then finally this makes sense, finally these other fears will be gone, finally these other, and it's just like, no, like it's all happening simultaneously, and it will always be happening simultaneously. It's just how we're moving through that. And like, in order to move through it comfortably is like to literally wake up and check in with yourself. And like, what the last 2 days, I've just like, one of the days was just like, all I did was cry just all day. And I was like, that's fine. Then just cry all day today, because that's what you're feeling. And today I woke up and I'm like, way more productive. And I'm like, perfect. I'm going to ride the productive wave today. But like, when you're working a 9 to 5 for like some capitalistic fucking systemic abusive approach. It's just like, you don't even have those choices. Like my mom can't wake up and cry all day. She needs to go to work because that's her system. And it's
Right.
like, so yeah, I think the first thing is awareness that like there are other ways to look at it, and then training yourself to look at it and experience it that way. And then eventually that vibration takes over your old vibration, and your life begins to flow in a different way. But you have to be intentional. Like you have to be intentionally spending your time and your energy, or you're just going to get caught up in like the fucking chaos of the world, which is like the world is chaotic right now. You know what I mean? So
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for discussing this. I think it's really important. Well, I know that we're going to get onto in a moment, looking into the main themes for 2023, which I'm really excited about, because as we were talking about getting some answers, maybe there's a few in there. But before we do that, I just have a question that I would love to ask you, and maybe you've answered this different times before, Chris, but for the listeners, I think, in terms of like some of the rituals or routines that you have for connecting with people, and that can be through the world of Instagram or your YouTube, but also like in person. Do you have any kind of things that you do, like rituals, routines, to kind of work with connecting with collective energy in a certain way, or does it just flow for you?
Yeah, I think I should, and I totally recommend using more ritual and intention and tools to connect and to disconnect, because I'm kind of in a space now, and this is again like almost my own limiting belief that I'm trying to clear so I can restructure how I connect. But I'm almost in a space now where there are so many people, and each person, let's say, has at least 2 guides. So now times everybody by 2. So now we're looking at 1 million guides.
Right.
Like I have, let's say, 1 million guides coming to me at all times or random times, trying to give me information or get to me or move me in some capacity. So what I am very intentional about now is like, and I speak it out loud, especially if you're an air sign, you need to speak it out loud because communication is our ruling energy, air. So Aquarius, Libra, Gemini. And Virgo would be great because Virgo is also connected to the planet Mercury. So Virgo, this would work for them as well. But it's like verbalizing your boundaries out loud. So I say, I am disconnecting from any guides, from the collective energies. I do not want any more information for right now. Thank you so much for your kindness, for your support. I'm like super grateful, but like, it's just right now is not the time. Like I need to human for a little bit, and I just need to like shit out. And that doesn't need to look like, it's like I fucking pat my head and rub my belly and I spin in a certain way and I say the rhyme every time. And it's just like, no, I can just be like, okay, we're done here, disconnecting. Like, so just doing it how you feel you need to do moment.
Yeah.
Obviously showing respect and gratitude because they are working with us.
Yeah.
But what I like to do before I actually didn't do it this time, which is funny enough. But I have this little like placemat. It's like a round, it's actually a meditation pillow cover, but there's no cushion in it. So it's just like a flat piece of fabric and it's round. And I wrap up my cards and I keep them in there. And then when I'm going to read, I always put it down in front of me and I unwrap it. And as I'm unwrapping it, it's setting the tone that I'm tapping into the cards and ready to read the cards.
Right.
I think it's really important also, like before my workshops, I always say like any and all energies that will be lifted from anybody taking this workshop, like they are not to be projected onto me. They are to be returned back, to the ether, to be recycled into high vibrational energy. So protect me against, shield me against, guard me against any and all external energies that I am engaging with, because they are not mine. I am just looking to help read and interpret them. As you sort of get into that type of vocalization and as you get into that rhythm, your subconscious knows that that is the intention automatically, and your guides will be aware of that as well. So even if you're like, oh shit, I didn't do it this time, it's like you're protected, you're already protected. So don't get like, don't put too much don't put too much pressure on like the rules, the structures, the routine. It's like one day it could look one way, and another day it could be way faster and way simpler. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I don't think that I have like a go-to, this is my 3-step program every time, but there's definitely ways I protect myself, and certain crystals help. Grounding the space. Obviously sometimes I use smoke medicine. I don't use sage as much anymore, really ever. Just because it's over farmed, it's appropriated, like issues around sage. So I would suggest switching that out for like a cinnamon stick, or a bay leaf, or rosemary is super powerful. There's so many other herbs. And yeah, clearing the space, clearing your deck, a shower, salt baths, like any of that stuff to get it off of you. But yeah, also if you're just at the store and you're like, oh my God, this weird antique earring makes me feel like I'm going to be hyper protected if I wear that. Like if you're putting the intention into that item, then that will do what you want it to do. So like you don't need any special fucking tool. Just do whatever you want, you know?
Yeah. I love that so much. I want to find an antique earring now. I love that.
Get me one too.
A really cool one, just like hanging down.
A dangle, yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Sorry,
you
I don't even know. Did that answer your question?
It did. No, I feel
okay.
like there's, like you were saying, like there's so many different things. I just always find it really, really helpful. And I know that listeners love to like get inspired by different rituals and stuff. So, but also just like you say, like keeping it real, I think is cool. And just like going with what flows for you on that day and knowing that you are protected is awesome. So thanks for sharing some of those. Well, would you be ready to, I know you're being really kind today to do this for everyone, and I know it's going to be super helpful. Just to get some collective, well, to tune into what you feel like collectively is going to be in store for us, just for some like main themes for 2023. I'll take it away.
Absolutely. I pulled 4 cards. Well, I was gonna pull 3 and then a 4th one popped out, which I love. And 3 of them are major arcana, and is higher power energies for people who are not necessarily fully aware of how the tarot works. So the minor arcana, which we have 1 of them, we have the page, we have the Page of Swords reverse. And the minor arcana is kind of like our everyday life, what is happening around us, how we interact, how we give and receive energy, etc. And then the bottom of the deck is also minor arcana, which is a 2 of Cups. And the other 3 are major arcana. I have the Fool, I have the Magician, and I have the Tower.
Wow.
I knew the Tower was going to come up because I was just feeling that when I was shuffling that, especially for the United States, they're going through their Pluto return. So this is going to be, it's going to be very freeing. Like, look at the Fool card. We are being like, no fucking way are we continuing in this manner. But when we want to expand in new ways, always before expansion comes contraction. And if there are powers that be that are in control of certain things right now, then it's very likely that they're going to try to constrict even more as they try to hold on to their power. But this is all kind of a mind game, because like, truthfully speaking, the majority population now is moving into a new vibration, and the minority population is trying to hold on to the old structures and the old vibration. So when I see this Tower card, I kind of feel like that is going to come crumbling down, which is great, because this is also a card that represents Pluto, and America is going through its Pluto return. So we'll definitely see what's happening in America. It will be a very clear manifestation of what the collective energy is that we're all also dealing with, which is moving into a new space and really tearing down those old structures. What is really nice about this is that we've got the Magician here, which is Mercury ruled. So Gemini, Virgo energy. So Gemini is inviting in the energy of conversations, communications, community building, brainstorming, figuring out what works for you, what works for me, how do we combine that? And then you take all of that really deep practical knowledge and you pass it over to the Virgo side of Mercury, which is like, perfect. I can create a process, a protocol, procedures, programs, structures. So Virgo is going to help us piece all these together. I also, what I'm feeling now, that, sorry, I get like these comments that kind of download into my mind while I'm talking. One of them, while I'm looking at this, which is the Magician, Mercury ruled. So again, Gemini and Virgo. Gemini rules the mind and Virgo rules the body, because Virgo is tied to the 6th house in astrology, modern day astrology. So when I look at the Two of Cups on the bottom of the deck, which is typically an overarching theme for all of the cards that are laid out in front of me, I think a lot of us, oh, this makes me really emotional because this is like what I struggle with a lot. Wow, sorry.
That's all right. Don't worry. Take your time.
I think a lot of us are going to be able to balance the mind-body connection, which is what I mentioned earlier, where I was like, I didn't even realize I had a body until I was like 30. It's like we are always acting out of fear, out of the mind space, out of what logically do I need to do next to keep myself safe, to keep my, and when I look at this, I feel like it's finally an opportunity for us to stand in our power and be like, I am whole in myself, and I have a very capable mind and I have a very capable body, and the two of them don't need to be at odds with each other. They don't need to be fighting each other. And that is what, as a collective, we're struggling with right now, is like this disconnect between what I choose to do, how I choose to behave, and where my mind brings me or wants me to behave. And you're seeing it come out of people's impulses and things like that. We're also in a time where the South Node is in Scorpio, and this Tower card is connected to Scorpio energy. So like all of those old fears and programs and anxieties and all of that shit, the deep subconscious programming around you're not good enough, you don't deserve it, you aren't capable, you can't survive on your own, you'll never heal this part of yourself, or this is just how it is, and I just need to accept it. Like all of those illusions are dissolving. And when I have the Page of Swords here reversed, it's really this energy of like a Page of Swords reverse is like, it's just the background gossip, noise, the fearful voices. It can be the voice in your head, the one I just talked about, clearing. It could be a friend, a coworker, a parent, a family member, somebody who's just like, you're never going to be able to do that. That's never good enough, or whatever it is. And when I see the Page of Swords reversed beside the Magician, it's like, first and foremost, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Because I feel like a lot of us are just going to be standing in this new space of like, do you know who I am? Like, I am fully capable. I have, like, the Magician is divinely guided, which is this infinity symbol above his mind. He's got the cups on the table. He's got the emotional maturity and stability to take care of himself. He's got the coins on the table. He's got an opportunity to invest time, energy, money into new structures with the coin. The sword represents the intellectual ability to figure it out, the logical mind when it's working with you and not against you. And then the wand is like the passion and the drive to actually make it happen, while I'm recognizing that I'm fully grounded in my body so that I can actually manifest through my body the things that I want to manifest for this new cycle, because it's a number one. And like, you're not going to fucking tell me I can't do that. And when you begin to have that type of empowerment move through the majority collective, like, how do these structures remain? How do these people stay in power? How do things not change? You know what I mean? So you look at that Fool card and it's like, we're really on the edge of this like precipice of like, I feel like the volcano's about to erupt. I feel like, and I don't mean that in a way to scare people. I just mean that in a way of like, there is so much new collective supportive energy that is here to help each of us on our own individual journeys. And by just following our own path, we're inspiring all the people around us to do the same, or we're clearing out those shadow energies. And then those shadow energies can continue to fight with the other shadow energies. Because another thing that I'm hearing right now too is like, we no longer are going to be required to be the teachers in the same capacity that we have been for those who are operating out of the shadow aspect of themselves. I think that spirit is now going to, it's kind of like the Hunger Games, what they're showing me. It's like, if you're acting, and of course, like we're always going to be interacting with people, you know, in the shadow space to some degree, and we have it within ourselves that we'll be trying to reconcile totally. And that's going to be a theme through 2023 for sure. But like, I feel like the shadow, let's say the shadow workers and the light workers are kind of dividing a little bit more, where like our knowledge is accessible, our wisdom and our example is fully present and accessible, but like we don't need to be directly involved in dealing with the lessons one-on-one. I feel like it's going to turn more of the, you know, shadow is learning from shadow because they're just triggering themselves, and we don't necessarily need to be involved in that anymore. And we can connect with the higher vibrational experiences that we've been trying to get to for a while. So this Two of Cups also represents those divine connections coming in, equal opportunity, equal exchange, the divine masculine and feminine balancing out. And then behind it, I have the Nine of Wands reversed, which is like, I'm just exhausted and I'm not engaging anymore. So I think if you're finding through 2023 that there are people who want to fight, like they can't fight themselves. Just be like, oh, I don't engage in this type of discussion. I don't engage in this type of behavior. I'm going to go engage with people who engage with me accordingly. And you can go engage with people who want to fight, because I don't want to. And then eventually that learning will come. It'll likely be at a slower rate, and it'll likely be with the Tower here at a way more dramatic experience for those people. But unfortunately, that's what they need right now, because if their light has not turned on just yet, then it's like they're showing me like a whip. It's like people are about to get whipped into shape, and we don't need to do that anymore. We can just turn that over to God, and God will organize, you know, where the lesson is going to come from. So I think that, I mean, yeah, we could obviously go deeper and more detail, but I think on like to kind of sum it up, I think, yeah, we're moving into a new space. We're feeling empowered. We don't need to engage in what we don't want to. And with the Page of Swords there reversed, it's kind of like, they're showing me like a horse with the tail when it's like whipping the flies off of it. And it's just kind of like, that's very much the energy that I think is like, if they're not paying your bills, why are you listening to them? If they don't really, if you wouldn't want to change your life with their life, if you wouldn't do a trade, why would you take advice from those people, you know? So yeah, I think that's kind of the vibe that we're moving into.
Thank you so much, Chris. I was like getting shivers like through this whole reading. It's crazy.
I'm excited to see how it pans out.
Oh yeah, same here. And I think yeah, exactly. Let's see what happens. But I also am hopeful that you know, some of those themes that you're speaking to will pan out, because I think after the last, I mean, I feel like the last 3 years have just been such a crazy whirlwind of unfolding Tower moments that I really, you know, I mean, obviously there's always going to be these moments like that, but at some point I think we have become at this, like this breaking point has been for a long time. And I do hope we're going to kind of move into the other side. Yeah, so many things. I'm definitely going to have to rewatch this myself and really look at everything and take things away, write some things down, journal. Yeah, and thanks. It was really also just great to feel your energy through this recording. I could really feel that. So that felt very special for me. So thank you. And I'm getting a bit emotional too. Thank you so much, Chris. And yeah, and just like maybe one little thing before you go, if you have the time, just anyone that would like to strengthen their own skills in reading intuitively into collective situations, like maybe also nice if you got anything's coming up where people can join you in the new year, or any other things that you would recommend in general.
Yeah, I think just for people to practice daily is like, wake up and just like carve out in your morning just like 10 minutes or like 5 minutes even to just like tune in with what you need and to prioritize that above all else before you start
Mm,
prioritizing work and prioritizing the people around you, and like really begin to build the relationship with like nurturing yourself first. And in that, you will begin to just intuitively feel like you know what you have to do that day or in this situation or with a conflict, and then to just trust that. And as you begin to trust that, it's like going to the gym. You're going to strengthen that muscle. The messages will become more clear. um I think also setting the intention to say, I want to receive information in a gentle way, and I'm going to listen in a gentle way. And I don't want these tower moments. I don't want these
mm,
chaos. I don't want a slap in the face with every wake up. It's like, I'm going to be open to receiving those messages in a gentle way. But then you also need to carve out time to receive those messages in a gentle way. So building that relationship is only going to strengthen that relationship with your higher self, with your guides. And then you'll start to be like, oh my God, this is working. And you'll begin to gain that trust. And that type of trust you can then apply to other skills. And if you want to continue to expand your psychicness or whatever, then you can bring in tools and whatnot. But I think it comes down to just like you at the beginning for sure. um Tuning into the collective, yeah, I mean, is really intense. I don't know if people even need to do that as
mm.
often as they probably think they do.
Yeah.
Using tarot cards is great. Um, or again, just setting that intention. Like your guides are listening. So like set the intention, like what is the collective energy today? And let me
Mm,
feel that for a minute. And then feel what comes up. And then maybe 5 or 10 minutes later say, okay, I'm disengaging.
right.
Now what does my energy feel like today? And then you can draw the comparison. And then throughout that day, if you're like, oh my God, I'm so anxious. And you're like,
Mm,
well, I'm I'm safe, I'm paid, I'm not hungry, I'm not in a fight. This probably isn't my energy. This is probably collective energy. And then saying, hey guys, could you come clear this energy from me? I don't need this right now. It's not helping me right now. I'm not interested right now. Like, I don't think people communicate enough with their guides. So
mhm.
that is going to be super helpful.
I love that
And
so
then
much. I'm going to use that for sure.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
super helpful. It's super, and it doesn't need to be a fucking ritual. You can just
Yeah.
literally close your eyes and in your head be like, whose energy is this? If this is not my energy, if I do not need to deal with this very real feeling that is inside and around me right now, then remove it.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, in under 10 minutes, you should notice a serious shift in your energy field. If like 20 minutes goes by, an hour goes by and it's really not going away, then I mean, yeah, you can go into like, is this a trauma response? Are there other things happening here? Or is this really mine? And then sit down and just be like, if it is mine, I'll acknowledge that. Show me what to do with it. Show me today either a resource, a conversation on the radio, something I hear that just triggers a solution to work with this energy or whatever the next steps are. And you'll get those answers. It's just, you're not going to get that answer if you're running around like a crazy person all the fucking time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that is a really good way for people to tune into themselves, just to get into it. And then throughout this year, we are working with a new content creator who's going to help us put like master classes together. So we
Nice.
will have protective energy courses, manifestation, intro to tarot, like all of these things are coming out. So just keep your eye out on our website, which is inwardboutique.com. I put everything on my Instagram, Chris Corsini. We've also I have my own podcast, which I was thinking I need to do an episode about this retrograde season. So there will be more consistent episodes on there, but I do have
Nice.
episodes in there that are helpful. You can listen to them at any time. My podcast is called Middle Ground. And Yeah, I mean, we're always coming up with new resources to help people. So just like keep an eye on our social medias or join our mailing list on my website, and you'll be updated for sure.
Beautiful. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Chris, for joining me today. And yeah, I've absolutely loved this conversation, and I'm sure everyone that's listening is going to take so much away. So
I
thank you
hope so.
so much.
Yeah. Thank you. This was fun. And I didn't expect the collective 2023 reading to look like that. So I'm kind of
Mm,
excited now. I'm like, yay, we can like stand in our power finally and do some good shit.
absolutely. I hope so. I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will. Yeah, and I can't wait to see everything that's going to come up for you next year as well. It's going to be exciting.
You too. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for having
Chris.
me.
You're so welcome.